Haribo, sorry, it's training. Namaste, my name is Janapati Das, and welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class, and hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Let me offer my respects to you and offer my gratitude. I'm very grateful for doing these classes, being able to serve my spiritual master, Jagaguru Siddhaswarapananda Paramahamsa, by offering you these classes and chanting, and appreciate your comments and you watching them. So thank you, and feel free if you have friends who want to watch these videos to share and to subscribe to my channel. I'd like to also offer my respectful obeisances to Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada of the purports that we're reading. We're continuing with chapter 6. And first we're just going to chant and offer this chanting unto Srila Prabhupada and unto Krishna. Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastaya Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastaya Radha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Bhakta-vrinda Radha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Bhakta-vrinda Haribo Nitai Gaur Haribo Haribo Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Haribo Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Haribo Haribo Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Haribo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Haribo. Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, we are reading from text 13 and 14. Prashantatma Vigabir. Oh, whoops, sorry. Jumped ahead. There's two verses here. Sorry. Samam Kaya Shiro Grivam Darayan Aklayam Shtita Sampreksha Nashikaglam Svam Dishashkana Chanava Lokayan Prashantatma Vigatvir Brahmachari Vriryate Shtita Manasam Yamya Machito Yuka Ashita Matpara Shamam straight Kaya Shiraha body and neck Grivam neck Dalayan holding Achalam unmoved Shtiraha still Sampreksha looking Nashika nose Agram tip Svam own Dishaha all sides Cha also Anavalokayan not seeing Prashanta unagitated Atma mind Vigabhubihi devoid of fear Brahmachari virate in the vow of celibacy Shtitaha situated Mana mind Shamyaya completely subdued Mat unto me Krishna Chitaha concentrated Yuktaha actual Yogi Ashita Yuktaha actual yogi Ashita being so Mat unto me Paraha ultimate goal. So I'm just going to read the verses 11 through 14, the one we read before. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay a kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should neither be too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and should practice yoga by controlling the mind and the senses, purifying the heart, and fixing the mind on one point. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So, you want to try that? It's a pretty difficult thing to do in this age. So yeah, this is a previous age of type of meditation that yogis would practice. In this age, we have a simple practice of Sankirtan Yajna, so we don't need to do such extreme austerities. It's very difficult to sit quietly and focus on one's nose without thoughts to run through their head. But Krishna was mentioning these kinds of paths here. The goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. So sometimes we know this term Vishnu Murti as the statue or the deity statue of Lord Vishnu with his four arms. But this is the form of Krishna or Vishnu who's been expanded into the hearts of all living beings as the Paramatma. And this form of meditation, one would focus within one's heart where the Vishnu Murti is present. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practices and is certainly wasting his time. So there's a lot of different kinds of yoga, some so-called yoga practices, but this was the main point was to come to be in samadhi with Krishna or Vishnu. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and the Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place and remain seated as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend a so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. So that's, a lot of people refer to themselves as yogis if they're teaching yoga asanas, but engaging in sex life. So it's it's a very difficult process, but it was a process by which, this day and age of Kali Yuga, it's very difficult, if not impossible, because nobody is abstaining from sex or stop thinking from sex, or society is basically run on sexual images and sex talk and sex everything. One has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is the chief. In the rules of celibacy written by the great sage Yajnavalkya, it is said, Karmana manasya vacha sarva vashdashu sarvada sarvatra maituna taiko brahmacharyam rakshashate. The vow of brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in words, and mind at all times, under all circumstances, in all places. So in the varnashram system, in the ashram system, there is a stage in life, which is when you're born and you're old enough to go to a gurukula, boys' school, or a school, an ashram, to engage in studies of scriptures and chanting and words from, usually the guru is overseeing the ashram, and the children, as they get in through their teenage years before they reach a marriageable age, they abstain from the sexual activity, which, from if you're teaching in a middle school and high school, I tell you that does not happen in the West. It's encouraged, in fact, but to engage in sexual life as a teenager, because at that age it's a very hormonal time, and so to take that energy and be able to be in a situation where you can just redirect it into your spiritual life and strengthen that ability to know where sex kind of, where you put it, where it is, what its purpose is, and realizing it's actually a spiritual aspect of having children. When you get married, you are allowed to have sex to raise children in a Krishna conscious environment. Children at the age of 5 are sent to the Gurukula, or the place of the spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it be dhyana, jnana, or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called a brahmachari. So even in the sexual, another thing that that's why so many divorces happen. People can't keep their sex life with their wife or husband. They have to go elsewhere and find it and cheat on their husbands or wives. That comes from a very weak mind, being one who's controlled by their mind. Such a restrained household of brahmacharya may be accepted in the bhakti school, but the jnana and dhyana schools do not even admit a household of brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the bhakti school, a household of brahmacharya is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of bhakti yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Vishaya Vinyavartante Niraharanasya Dehinya Rashavarjam Rashopi Asha Param Drishva Nivartate Whereas others are forced to restrain themselves from sense gratification, a devotee of the Lord automatically refrains because of superior taste. Other than the devotee, no one has any information of that superior taste. So, to tell people, okay, just abstain from sex, it's very difficult to do. You have to go up against your mind, the peer pressure of everything. You just, because why am I abstaining from sex? It's like, so the engaging in this age of chanting of Krishna's names, of the following the instructions of our spiritual master or japa, focusing our life in spiritual master, the desire for sense gratification lessens. This kind of turns the heat down, and we get the higher taste, because these other things, even sex life, is very, I've known people who've been very hedonistic with and they just were suicidal, even though they had so much sex, all kinds of drug and alcohol use, and they were just suicidal because they were just so miserable. Vijata bihi. One cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. Let's see if that word was actually in the... No. Okay. Yeah, and this is why Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall give you all protection from sins. Do not fear. Do not fear. So you can't be fear. If you don't know the higher taste, you're fearful that you won't find happiness in this life unless you fully dive head into materialism. And even when you do, you're not happy. The Bhagavatam, okay, one cannot be fearful. A conditioned soul is fearful due to his perverted memory, his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. The Bhagavatam says, Bayam deviti yab biini veshataha shad aptasya vibargyayo smriti. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. Therefore, perfect practice is possible for a person who is Krishna conscious. And since the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see the Lord within, a Krishna conscious person is already the best of all yogis. So you don't have to go through all the sitting on the deer skin with looking at the tip of your nose, or doing yoga asanas or pranayama, or going through the steps of all Ashtanga yogas to try to reach samadhi. You just chant Krishna's names. Chant Krishna's names. There is no other way. There is no other way in this age of Kali to achieve self-realization. The principles of the yoga system mentioned herein are different from those of popular so-called yoga societies. So that was that. Text 15. Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogi niyata manasha shantim nivana paramam mat shamstam adi gachati. Yunjan, practicing like this. Evam, as mentioned above. Sada, constantly. Atmanam, body, mind, and soul. Yogi, the mystic transcendentalist. Niyata manasha, regulated mind. Shantim, peace. Nirvana paramam, cessation of material existence. There's that word nirvana again, right? Mat shamstaham, in the spiritual sky, the kingdom of God. Adi gachati, does attain. Translation, text 15. Thus, practicing control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist attains the kingdom of God, or the abode of Krishna, by cessation of material existence. So, there are processes by which things are done, right? And the result is obtained. So, this is a type of very difficult, if not impossible in this age, but it was possible, and some people may want to try that. But the ultimate goal of controlling the mind, the body, the activities, and then ceasing all material attachment and being attached to Krishna can be easier attained by the chanting of Krishna's names in this day and age of Kali Yuga. The ultimate goal in practicing yoga is now clearly explained. Yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. It is to enable the cessation of all material existence. So whether it's yogic asanas or whatever it might be, mystic yoga, all these things ultimately are to eliminate material attachment. And similarly, the praying unto Krishna was when we talked about praying to demigods for material facilities. It's the same thing. It's unnecessary. Radhika, Queen Radhika. Yeah, she, Rukmini, sorry, it's the same person, but Rukmini, Queen Rukmini, was praying to Goddess Durga, but not for, any husband or material husband or any money or success or whatever. She was praying for, because I want Krishna as my husband. She wanted to have that loving relationship as a paramour to Krishna, as a husband, as a wife. And she even went on to say that there were so many so-called qualified princes who were great warriors, who were great statesmen, and very great leaders. But she referred to them as bags of stool and blood with hair on their face. So there wasn't no attachment for any kind of material existence in that situation. One who seeks an improvement in health or aspires after material perfection is no yogi, according to Bhagavad Gita, nor does cessation of material existence entail one's entering into the void, which is only a myth. So there is no void. That is a Buddhist concept, which is sort of the flipped side of the impersonalist, all is all or all is nothing. It's sort of the same thing, the void. This is where Buddhism sees nirvana as the final entering into the void. But this is a myth, as Bhaktivedanta was saying. There is no void anywhere within the creation of the Lord. Rather, the cessation of material existence enables one to enter into the spiritual sky, the abode of the Lord. The cessation of material existence, right? The nirvana. Nirvana is the cessation, the blowing out of that material existence, where you're not attached to you're completely 100% attached to Krishna. You're surrendered to Krishna. And then you can enter into your eternal Brahmabhutam, the eternal service, unfettered, pure devotion to the spiritual master. To the spiritual master and to Krishna. The abode of the Lord is clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita as a place where there is no need of sun, moon, nor electricity. All the planets in the spiritual kingdom are self-illuminated like the sun in the material sky from the body of Krishna. The kingdom of God is everywhere, but the spiritual sky and the planets thereof are called Paramdhamma, or superior abodes. Paramdhamma. It's a nice name. That would be a good band name or something, I think, or poem. A consummate yogi who is perfect in understanding Lord Krishna, as is clearly explained here in Machita Matpara Machtatanam, by the Lord himself, can attain real peace and can ultimately reach the supreme abode, the Krishna Loka known as Goloka Vrindavan. In the Brahma Samhita, it is clearly stated, Goloka eva navashtati akhil latma bhutaha, that the Lord, although residing always in his abode called Goloka, is the all-pervading Brahman and the localized Paramatma, as well by dint of his superior spiritual energies. So we had read in the Sri Ishopanishad, Krishna can walk, but he does not walk. He is near, but he is far away. So this is what this is referred to. Krishna is present where his energies are present, but he's also separate. No one can reach the spiritual sky or enter into the eternal abode, Vaikuntha, Goloka, Vrindavan of the Lord without the proper understanding of Krishna and his planetary expansion, Vishnu. So it's not like we just take a spaceship and hit Krishna Loka. This is why you could travel your whole life and never reach Krishna. Therefore, a person working in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi because his mind is always absorbed in Krishna's activities. Savayam manaha Krishna pada vindayo. In the Vedas also we learn tam evam vidit vatim ritum eti. One can overcome the path of birth and death only by understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, perfection of the yoga system is the attainment of freedom from material existence and not some magic jugglery or gymnastic feats to befool innocent people. Here we go. So anytime anybody says, whatever, you can do this, could do that, do these techniques. Yeah. Text 16. Nachiyash natash tu yogoshti. Nachai kantam anash nata. Nachati swapna shila sha. Jagrato naiva karjuna. Never. Ati, too much. Ashnata, of one who eats so. Tu, but. Yoga, linking with the Supreme. Ashti, there is. Na, nor. Cha, also. Ekantam, very low. Anashnata, abstaining from eating. Na, nor. Cha, also. Ati, too much. Swapna shila sha, of one who sleeps too much. Jagrataha, or one who keeps night watch too much. Na, not. Eva, never. Cha, and. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation, text 16. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. So this is a really important verse, as all verses are, but this one reminds us that, a lot of times people think, India is a spiritual place because Krishna was there and Lord Chaitanya was there, and this is true. But you can go to India, and my spiritual master has instructed us to be careful about traveling to India. In fact, that you don't really even need to travel to India, and you shouldn't really travel to India and visit holy places if you are not really spiritually purified, because looking at Vrindavan and cows and dirt and whatnot, you might judge, and you might think, but also because there are so many people, yogis and so-called spiritual men, who want to become your guru, Dave. They want to become your spiritual master. They'll take advantage of you and manipulate you, teach you complete nonsense. But there are a lot of, there is this sort of idea of austerities, right? And you see the yogi who doesn't eat anything. He's just living off life air or whatever. He's not eating enough, or, and here it's no possibility of becoming Krishna saying, if you eat too much or you eat too little, and you just have to sustain your body. You have to take care of your body. You should be eating to live, not living to eat, right? In the West, we just live to eat. We have a 60% of what's the word I'm thinking of? God, why did I just draw blanks? Yeah, obesity. That's a ding. Obesity rate in Australia and America, Western countries. They have a lot of fast food. They eat a lot of meat. They eat a lot of even vegetarians can be way overweight. So the idea is not to eat too much or too little, to sleep too much or to sleep too little. So it's not, that you're more of a spiritual person and you don't eat enough. But really you should be thinking, what's good for my body and my mind to be in service of Krishna? That's really what it says. And so Krishna is telling, in this meditation practice, just that. We're not eating too much, eating too little, sleeping too much or sleeping too little. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. So it's regulation. We regulate, We don't go crazy and just eat all kinds of food. We don't eat meat. We're recommended, in our 4 regulative principles to not eat meat, fish, or eggs. We don't go crazy with our food. We watch our diet. We watch our health. We take care of our body. We exercise our body. We don't sleep too much because that'll put us in the mode of ignorance. We don't sleep too little because that'll also put us in the mode of ignorance of being way too tired, and it will also have an adverse effect on our body. There's no need for men to eat animals. All right, too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. Such simple fruits is considered to be in the mode of goodness, according to the Bhagavad Gita. So this modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, even food also is in this. So we eat try to eat very fresh food. Animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. There we go. So eating meat is in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. So not only we could be eating very mode of goodness food, but we should offer it to Krishna first, because it is Krishna's, and we offer and love Krishna, the fruit, the flower, the leaf, or whatever we're doing. Punjate te tvam agam papaye panchati atma kalanat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice. So it's also an interesting thing. Our body, like an ecosystem, it's perfectly designed to eat the right amount and the right amount of foods. If we eat too much, then the system starts to break down. We get clogged arteries, we get overweight. The overweight causes stresses on our body, gives us diabetes. The body starts to react when you have too much food. But if we eat the right amount of food and we're exercising and we're drinking lots of water and doing all those things, then the body is in balance. It's the body and the mind and yourself. So this is also when you're meditating and you feel crappy, because you're already going to feel crappy when you have to leave your body. So meditating in life, while you're cultivating your relationship with Krishna, you should take care of your body so that you feel good, so that you feel good to meditate, because it's very difficult to meditate when you're sick, like you gotta go chant, whatever. You try to do your japa, and if you have the fever, you're falling asleep and whatever. It's hard to really even do any meditation. Your body's racked with pain and stuff like that. So there is a purpose of this, materially and spiritually. Person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, not only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice, nor can one who artificially abstains from eating manufacture his own personal process of fasting and practice yoga. So this is the thing where I was talking about with the yogis. He's very holy because he just doesn't eat anything. He's like abstaining from food. People will do sacrifices by going on fasts to try to make political purposes. And even kinds of fasting can be in different modes. You could have modes of ignorance where a person is fasting because he disagrees with something political that's going on and he decides he's going to fast for the cause. But that could either be mode of ignorance or mode of goodness or mode of passion, but not necessarily the mode of goodness. A A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Okay, yeah, sorry, I read that. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. So we are given certain fasting standards to, we fast on our spiritual master's appearance day. We fast on Lord Chaitanya's appearance day. There's options to fast in other incarnations like Lord Nrsingadev and partial fasts, and we can fast at different degrees in Ekadasi, where we abstain from grains and things like rice and beans and stuff like that. But we can also fast at a different level. We can fast by not eating at all. So there is fasting that is recommended in the scriptures for us to do, and that will help us spiritually if we apply that and we focus on spiritual activities during that time. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. It's true. When you eat a lot, you just end up dreaming a lot, and I'll also really snore loud. My wife will say, you're really snoring loud because, this weekend we've had a little bit more food, more heavier food than I'm used to because it's Thanksgiving and people, will eat. So I've eaten a little bit more heavier, but I've also not eaten several plates of food. You can do that. People just Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner, they just eat and eat and eat, and they're just they drink. They're just lying on unbuttoning their pants. It's just oh my God, agony. You can tell your body is I don't want that. Your tongue is I want to put more food in that. But there is a thing where it takes a while for your brain to catch up with your stomach, and you can put food in there and your brain will be saying, oh, I'm still hungry, or I want to eat some more. I still feel like I have room. And meanwhile, the brain is still catching up, so you put more food in there. So by the time that the brain is fully caught up, you've overeaten, even just thinking, oh, I'm just going to eat a little bit more. But, I ate a little bit more than usual, more heavier foods, some gravies and things like that I don't usually eat so much of. And, it was just dreaming more, a little heavier. It affects your mind and affects your consciousness. You must consequently sleep more than is required. Yeah, you're tired. Your body will be working through the night trying to digest. That's why it's recommended to not eat past 6 o'clock, really, because your body, when you eat at night, you get up in the midnight snack. My father-in-law, my wife would tell me that he would every night get up at 1 a.m. and make himself a snack in the middle of the night. But your body has to digest that, so your body's not really sleeping. So you should be having a fast. That's why they call it a breakfast, right? Because you stop at a certain time, you've gone all night not eating, and then in the morning at some point you break the fast. And if you've eaten at 6 o'clock or whatever, you stopped eating at 6, and then you woke up at say 8, that's 14 hours of fasting. It's pretty impressive, and it's good to periodically fast and take care of your body, but for a good purpose, right? For making sure your body is healthy to serve Krishna. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. Yeah, Bhaktivedanta. I do more 7 or 8. I have to admit, a little harder for me. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. So the more you are in the mode of ignorance, the more you want to sleep. So you sleep. You try to sleep, and all you want to do is sleep more. You just get up and do your thing, and then you feel like I'm still just sleepy. But the modes of ignorance and passion and goodness have their purposes. You do have to sleep. So the mode of ignorance at a certain time of the night kicking in is like saying, okay, now it's time for your body to rest. And then when it's done in the morning, you get up early and you do your thing. Let's see. Okay. Text 17. yuktahara viharasha, yukta chetasha, karmashu yukta swapnavabodasha, yoga bhavati dukkha, yukta regulated, ahara eating, viharasha recreation, yukta regulated, chishtasha one who works for maintenance, karmashu in discharging duties, yukta regulated, svapna abadasha regulated sleep and wakefulness, yogaha practice of yoga, bhavati becomes, dukkha diminishing pains. Translation: he who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. So these are our propensities, right? We eat, we sleep, we mate, and we defend. And this is not just in the human form of life, but in all life forms. You know, we have to eat. An ant has to eat. A dog has to eat. We sleep. We have to sleep. Everybody sleeps. We mate. We have a tendency to mate, you know. And we defend. We defend those things against us, either protecting our family or, you know, in a larger sense, nations protecting against other warring nations. The problem is that in the human form of life, unlike the animal form of life, you have the propensity also you have the fifth propensity, which is to inquire, the intellectual inquirer. Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? Why am I suffering? Is there a God? Things like that. You know, dogs don't sit around and discuss Nietzsche and Plato. You know, they just lick themselves. You know. You could imagine them just like dogs sitting around. You know, they make jokes about this in cartoons and stuff like that. But animals don't do that. They don't have the propensity to inquire about their spiritual well-being. So the extravagance in a human form of life, we are given a very precious and rare opportunity to get out of the material world. Whereas any other animal form of life, they are evolving upward towards the human form of life. But to engage in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending just for the sense of just doing it and trying to get happiness out of it, demands of the body, extravagance in the matters of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending can block advancement in the practice of yoga. So we should be putting our yoga, we should eat, sleep, we should mate if we're married, and we should defend. It's necessary to defend ourselves, you know, in cases. But we don't put that as the king. We don't, you know, that doesn't become the priority. Our practice of yoga and everything, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, is related to that. It's related to Krishna. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, God's mercy, sanctified food. So we offer Krishna's food. We take it after it's been offered, and it's purifying. It's very purifying. There's been great stories of devotees who've purified their hearts by just eating prasadam. Lord Krishna is offered, according to the Bhagavad Gita 9:26, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption, or which is not in the category of goodness. So we always offer our food. We also are instructed to not offer food that is meat, fish, or eggs to Krishna, right? And ideally to be in the mode of goodness if we can, but because Krishna doesn't want those things, so we don't offer it to him. But if somebody offers us food and it's no meat, fish, or eggs, we can also offer it. We can thank you. We offer it to Krishna. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. A Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who was engaged in the service of Krishna, who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, sometimes not even that. Thakur Haridas would not even accept prasadam, nor even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads 300,000 names. Whew. That's a lot. Yeah, I think I calculated it something like, 2,000, I don't know, was it like 2,000 names in one round or something? Maybe 12 times 16 times 108 times 12. At least I have to calculate. I did calculate at one point. I think it's 5,000 or something like that. So 300,000 names would be quite a bit, like maybe 100 rounds or something, 300 rounds maybe. As far as is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness. And because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. Nice. Text 18. Yada viniyatam chitam atmani evava tishtate nishvraya sava kamebhyo yuktai tyuchate tada. Yada, when viniyatam, particularly disciplined, chitam, the mind in its activities, atmani, in the transcendence, eva, certainly, avashtitate, becomes situated, nishpraha, devoid of, sarva, all kinds of, kamebhya, karma, material desires, yukta, well situated in yoga, iti, thus, uchate is said to be, tada, at that time. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to obtained yoga. Purport. The activities of the yogi are distinguished from those of an ordinary person by his characteristic cessation from all kinds of material desires, of which sex is the chief. A perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of the mind that he can no longer be disturbed by any kind of material desire. This perfectional stage can automatically be attained by persons in Krishna consciousness, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, 4th chapter, 18th through 20th verse. Okay. Savamana Krishna Padala Vindaya Yor Vachamashi Vaikunta Guna Nu Varnane Karao Hare Mandayara Marjana Dishu Shrutim Shakrara Chutya Satkato Daye Mukunda Lingalaya Dashane Deshal Tadbirja Gatra Tshpase Ininga Samgamam Grinam Chatad Pada Saroja Sarobe Srimat Tulasya Rashanam Tadal Pite Padal Hari Kshetra Padan Ushar Pane Shiro Kilish Kesha Pada Bivanden Dane Kamam Cha Dashana Tu Kamakam Yaya Yato Tama Shloka Janala Shayalati. That's a lot of words. King Ambarisha, first of all, engaged his mind in the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna. Then, in one after another, he engaged his words in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord. his hands in mopping the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing of the activities of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the transcendental forms of the Lord, his body in touching the bodies of the devotees, his sense of smell and smelling the scents of the lotus flower offered to the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulasi leaf offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, his legs in going to places of pilgrimage and the temple of the Lord, his head in offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desires in executing the mission of the Lord. All these transcendental activities are quite befitting a pure devotee. So very wonderful. So King Ambarisha utilized all the senses in the service of Krishna. And so this is the yoga of the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna's talking about, that you can be doing anything in the service as long as you have the attitude, because Arjuna was going to fight. And in of itself, fighting is not, a spiritual activity. But he did it for Krishna. He did it to his best ability for Krishna. We can do the things in our lives that may seemingly not seem to be anything related to Krishna, but like a materialistic activity. We could be working for money. But we do these things, we can just, in our mind, we offer it to Krishna. Krishna, I offer this service to you. Krishna, I want to please help me to help others in what I do. This transcendental stage may be an inexpressible subjectivity by the followers of the impersonalist path, but it becomes very easy and practical for a person in Krishna consciousness, as is apparent in the above description of the engagements of Maharaj Ambarisha. So the activities become spiritual by the practice of yoga, right? You can discipline your mental activities and have them situated in transcendence. This is yoga. Unless the mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord by constant remembrance, such transcendental engagements are not practical. In the devotional service of the Lord, therefore, these prescribed activities are called archana, or engaging all the senses in the service of the Lord. The senses and the mind require engagements. Simple abnegation is not practical. So we can't just avoid things. We have to apply things, but we have to have the right consciousness and attitude of why we are applying these things. Therefore, for people in general, especially those who are not in the renounced order of life, transcendental engagement of the senses and the mind, as described above, is the perfect process for transcendental achievement, which is called yukta in the Bhagavad Gita. Nice next verse, but I think the purport's a little long. We'll bring it up next time. Okay. Thank you very much. Namaste.